Yo, what's up, everybody? It is your boy B, and we are back for part 3, where I'm going to take you deep inside the pain, suffering, misery, and even death of solitary confinement at FSP. I'm talking about home of death row and the death chamber, a place where I'd done 2.5 years in solitary confinement. Now, before we dive into this one, if you haven't already done it, go back and watch part 1 and part 2 of this series, talking about the pain, suffering, and misery of solitary confinement in Florida State Prison. So, what we're going to do is jump back into Q-Wing, the place that is called maximum management, that has 24 cells in this block. Only 24 like this in the entire state of Florida, right above the death chamber. So, as I told you, when I first got into Q-Wing, I learned the cell intimately. I learned how everything operates. I learned all the noises that I would hear so that I could keep up with time, because there is no light that penetrates your cell when you're locked in maximum management. Now, what I also want you to do is, as I'm telling you this story, do me a favor, try to visualize this. Try to think about it. Try to play it to where you can actually picture yourself right there in this cell, experiencing what I'm telling you. I know for me and anybody that has been to FSP, once you've been immersed into this atmosphere, into this place, this building of just pure suffering and hatred and misery, you can never wash away those memories completely. And being in maximum management is unlike anything else in this entire building. So, as I told you, you really don't get that 23-hour lockdown and 1 hour of being able to go out to rec. That's a myth. At FSP, they don't give a damn about that. When you start saying, hey, I'm supposed to get my 1 hour rec, listen, man, they'll bring the entire, all the white shirts, the upper staff, the colonels, the majors, the lieutenants. They'll bring the warden to your door and burn the rule book in front of your door. They don't give a damn what the rules say. You're in a completely different world when you end up at FSP. A world where they make their own rules and they do not care what you got to say about it. So, like I said, you really don't get any rec, but on that special occasion that you do, after you've been there a while, and they see that you're not going to act like a maniac. They see that you're not going to be screaming and banging and kicking and throwing shit and piss on them. They see that you're going to act somewhat civilized. You might get an opportunity to go out to the dog cages. When I say dog cages, just picture like a dog kennel, completely fenced in, top, bottom, sides, back, front, everywhere, with a little gate that opens. And you put the little dog in there, right? So he can't escape, so he can't get away, or predators outside can't get him, right? Well, that is what the rec cage is like when you are housed at FSP. It doesn't matter what level of CM that you're on, whether you're in maximum management, CM1, CM2, or CM3, if you get a chance to go to the dog cages, you're going to be locked inside of a cage. So, I finally made it to where I did enough time in maximum management, stayed out of trouble, wasn't causing any problems. Officers never had to come and tell me, make my bunk, hey, get dressed, hey, do this, do that. I wasn't screaming, banging, kicking, throwing shit, piss. I wasn't doing anything. I was sitting here biding my time, trying to think about my thoughts, trying to focus on positive things, trying to rearrange the way that I think, trying to better myself. And during that time, the officers took notice of that. So finally, they say, all right, time to go to rec. I'm going to get my shot at rec. So when you haven't seen daylight, when you have been locked inside of a cell that's inside of a building, that's inside of a hallway, and you're just inside, and they say rec time, believe one thing, you're at the door waiting. Let's go. I'm ready. So when you leave out of your cell, you're going to be handcuffed with the chain that goes down to your ankles, and you're going to be shackled. And you're going to be just shuffling along, right? Hopefully they don't shortchain you and you're all bent over. So I didn't get a short chain on this one. When I first got to FSP, obviously I was on a short chain because they were extremely pissed off with me for the escape charge. But when I finally got to go out to rec, just give me a regular chain, shackles, and I'm going down some steps. I knew that the death chamber was below my cell, but until you experience the death chamber, until you see it, until you smell it, until you just feel the dread and misery and death that just permeates this entire area. In fact, it permeates the entire building. But as you walk through the death chamber, when you go downstairs below the cell block, and you're on the very bottom floor of FSP on Q Wing, and you walk past and you see this wooden electric chair with leather straps on it. When you see that and you realize that this is a contraption designed to do one thing, take another man's life. Yeah, I know that we got guns. We got all type of weapons out here, knives, army tanks, helicopters, whatever. We got all type of missiles and ships with bombs on them. That's different. When you look at this contraption and you realize that this thing is strictly one thing intended, to murder somebody, and you know that this particular chair has killed many, many of people, and you walk by and you look at it, you just get this feeling deep in the pit of your stomach that is unlike anything I'm able to describe to you guys. And as you know, if you've been watching my video, I'm pretty good at describing things. I have a way of breaking things down to people so that they're able to get a good visual understanding of it. But this feeling that I got as I walked past this death chamber, and I even seen the lethal injection table down here, to this day, I'm not able to fully explain it to people to where they can really truly understand the feeling that I had, the feeling that I still have when I think about it as I was walking through here. Unlike anything else in the world, it was a disgusting, foul feeling, knowing that this thing is sitting here just waiting for another victim. Now, granted, don't get me wrong. I know that there are people that have committed heinous crimes that deserve whatever they get. But that doesn't change the fact that when you walk past this and you experience it firsthand, it's a sickening feeling. And you know what else is crazy about it is the officers that work in this area, that work the death house, the death chamber, that work back here, that actually bring men from their cell, and they bring them into this holding cell that is also in the bottom of the death chamber. I think they bring them back there for their last 24 hours. They escort them to their holding cell where they wait to be put to death, where they have their last meal, where they get a chaplain that can come and talk to them. The people that do work this job, that escort these people, the people that work in this unit, that actually strap these people onto this table, the lethal injection table, or the chair. It's still an option for people. They haven't been using the chair, but it's still an option. So basically, if you're sentenced to death and going to be put to death, you can say, I'll take the electric chair and sit here wriggling, who knows what, when they're put to death. But I'm sure it's not a fun thing. I mean, I've seen pictures on Google where people are put to death and they're sitting there in the chair and their bodies just look swollen and purple and bruised and blood's just pouring out of their eye sockets and their nose. It's a foul looking thing. So I'm sure that most people, and the reason they're not really using that chair too much is because most people would rather just take the easier route, in my opinion, of just being injected with some type of fluid that goes into your body and stops your heart. I'm sure that's not a fun feeling either. But my point is the people that work on this wing, the people that escort these people over here and strap them down to this table, their whole demeanor, their whole character is unlike anything else that you're going to experience no matter where you go in the state of Florida. Even when you leave off a Q wing and you go to a regular CM wing, the officers that work on this, in this area, putting these people to death, they just carry themselves differently. They just have this miserable, sad, angry. You don't even want to communicate with them. You don't even want to look at them. When you do look at them, you just get this cold, eerie feeling that just, it's reverberating off of them. So I remember that first time just walking through that death chamber, and I was like, wow, this is just absolutely insane. So make it through the death chamber, and I come outside. You go through, I think you go through like 2 doors. You're in a little vestibule, and then you go outside, So finally, here it is. I'm seeing sunlight for the first time. I'm feeling fresh air for the first time. And it's just like this wave of freedom washes over me. Even though here I am, I'm still handcuffed, shackled, got a belly chain on. I'm not going anywhere. I'm inside of a cage still. But the immense freedom that I felt was just like, wow, this feels really good to be outside, right? So they take me down, put me inside of this cage, shut the door back. They lock it with a like a little padlock, and then they tell me to put my hands in. Actually, I think they undone my leg irons first. They undone my leg irons, then they put me in the fence. They shut it, they lock it, they tell me to put my hands through. They uncuff me, and here it is. I'm inside of this cage that has it's got a pull-up bar, it's got a dip bar, and well, that's pretty much it. And you're just chain linked in. And when you're inside this dog cage and you look, obviously you're going to be looking around, right? You look, all you see, as far as you can see, is nothing but rows and rows of chain link dog cages. From one end of this building to the other. It's just like a long rows of dog cages. Because this building is like a long rectangle. It's got wings that come off of it. And off of each wing, they've got these rows of rec cages for people. So even though I was here, locked inside of this cage, this chain link dog cage, with only a pull-up bar and a dip bar, there's no access to water, there's no access to use a bathroom, I felt the most free that I have felt in years. Because obviously, prior to my escape, prior to me coming to FSP, I just felt like this captured animal that wanted free so badly that I was willing to pull this BS crap of trying to escape like I did. And, so obviously I felt really captured. I didn't feel free at that time, because if I did feel free, I would have never tried to escape. But sitting in Q-Wing in maximum management and working on my thought process, studying this Siddha yoga program, spending hours upon hours of just sitting in my cell with my eyes covered, meditating, just sitting in complete silence inside of my mind, almost complete silence. It's impossible as far as I understand, and in my trying to find complete silence inside of your mind. But you're able to block out all the noise around you and all of the madness and craziness around you. So finally I get out to the rec cage, do me some pull-ups, do me some dips, walk some laps around this little bitty cage. It's about 6 feet by 9 foot, about the same size as my cell. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Couldn't wait until the next time I was going to be able to go out. But of my couple of months, 2-3 months, whatever it was on maximum management, I probably went outside 2 or 3 times. Barely did we get to go outside. So when they come back to get you, they re-handcuff you, pop the gate, put your shackles on, march you right back up to your cell. You got to go through the death chamber again. Get this eerie feeling all over as you walk through. They put me back in my cell. And so to wrap up the Q-Wing part, if you watch the videos, you know that being on Q-Wing and maximum management, you get no television, you get no phone calls, you get no privileges, you get no type of canteen except for cosmetic stuff like deodorant and toothpaste. You get some writing material and religious material. That's it. You're not getting nothing else. Inside of your cell, you've got those few items that I talked about. You've got a mattress and a blanket and a sheet. That's it. That's a wrap, man. You're not getting nothing else in here. You're going to spend your time either trying to better yourself, sitting on your bunk, wrapped up, or laying on your bunk under the blanket, unless an officer comes that says, get out from under the blanket, make your bed. They don't give a damn how cold it is inside there. Some of them will come and tell you, get out from under the blanket. Do not let me catch you back under. And if they do catch you under, you're liable to wear a beating, if not murdered, if you piss them off bad enough. So some of the other things that were really crazy about being in maximum management as well, like I told you, you couldn't really keep up with the time as far as like the exact minutes and the hours and everything, but you would get a general sense of what time it is, because you knew when they're bringing breakfast that it's around this time. When they bring lunch, it's around this time. When they bring dinner, it's around this certain time. When the psych nurse comes, it's around this certain time. When they do shift change, it's obviously a certain hour. Now, here was what was crazy. You'd be in there if you were asleep, if you could sleep in all this madness. I know for me, I was able to sleep. I was able to just block out the craziness, the crazy dude beside me, and I'd be asleep. And even though I'm a really light sleeper, and being in jail for 2.5 years, fighting my case, being in prison for 11 years made me a very light sleeper. But what they would do is they would creep onto the wing as quiet as possible, like a little mouse coming down the wing. And it's real quiet at the time while everybody's maybe asleep. And they would just slam a door. I'm talking about a steel door as hard as they possibly can into a steel frame that's just surrounded by concrete. All you hear is this steel slamming against each other. And they would scream, "Chow time!" And you're just abruptly woken from this sleep. I mean, can you imagine you're in this sleep? You're knocked out, sleeping good. However it is you sleep. Maybe you got your mouth open. I don't know. Whatever. You're sleeping good, though. And all of a sudden, this door slams. And you're just like, whoa, what the? What just happened? So eventually you kind of get used to it. But a lot of times the way they work that is they'll do it a couple of times and you'll start expecting it. And then they won't do it for a while so that you kind of forget about it. Unless you're like me, where you're trying to remember every possible thing that could possibly happen. So I would try to always keep that in mind because I know they're going to come and do it. So they would do that, or they'd just come down the wing and scream like crazy, bang on things, not just the doors, bang on the bars. They would do all type of things just to aggravate you. It's like having a dog inside of a cage and they're just poking it, poking it, poking it all day long for absolutely no reason. I mean, you got guys that are in this wing that do have mental problems. They have sight problems. Maybe this guy's acting up because of that. One thing he's not going to get is any type of therapy. He's not going to get any type of help with his problems. All he's going to get is beat, sprayed, or killed. And that's it. Look up the Frank Valdez. I'll put that link in this video again. Look up the Frank Valdez case where they beat this man. 9 people entered this man's cell and beat him and beat him and beat him. All because they were beating some other inmates, prisoners that were there. And he started writing his attorney about it, saying, hey, listen, these guys need some help. It's a long story, but the end result was they beat this man so bad that his injuries, whenever they done the autopsies, the person that done the autopsy said that his injuries were consistent with being run over by a dump truck. This is the type of brutality that is happening on Q-Wing, maximum management at FSP. If it's not that, they just come and spray you relentlessly. Listen, have you ever been sprayed by mace? When you're locked in a cell, solo dolo, you've been in here for who knows how long. You're already you want out of this situation so bad. And they're doing things to mess with you. Maybe they're coming to bring in you food and they're spitting in your food. They used to spit in my neighbor's food frequently. Dwight England, Tommy, the man that was in there he bashed a correctional officer in the head with a hammer, killed the lady trying to escape. And they would come in there and spit in his food. And he told me through the vent, he'd be like, man, it got to a point where they'd spit in his food. He'd grab the tray and grab the food. He wouldn't even get his little spork. He'd just grab the food that they just spit in, put it all in his mouth and eat it right in front of him. Like, you got some more? So that's one of the strongest people that I have met with mental resilience. This man could endure all the type of games that these people were playing with him. They ended up, they moved him off the Q-Wing. They had him on Q-Wing for a long time, and they moved him over to death row, but they specifically designed his cell for him. And I ended up, it's going to be multiple videos in this series, so be sure to stay tuned because I'm going to tell you about as I made my way down to CM3, where I actually got to be a runaround at FSP. I made it back over onto the death row wing. And I remember walking down the wing as I'm looking into these guys' cells that are sitting here waiting to be put to death. And I was looking for Tommy because the entire time we were on Q-Wing, I never got to see him. we only talked through the vent. So I was looking for him, and they have their I think their name was on the outside of the door. And I remember they had bars. So it was like their wall in their cell, the front of the wall was bars. They could put their arms out. They could have a little mirror so they could see down to the other end. Just like you see on TV, the cell with the bars, right? Tommy's cell, they completely redone his cell. They came in and welded solid steel plate to the outside of his cell. And the only thing he had was a little window. Like, if you see me looking through here, he had this little window that ran about 3.5, 4 feet from the top to the bottom. Just a little window that he could see out of. But the way they built it, he could only see straight out of it. He couldn't see any angles because they put like this L, like a L-shaped steel angle iron. They put L-shaped angle iron right on the frame of the glass so that he couldn't look down to the sides. He could only see out. And then when the officers would come down the wing, they could see in. This man sat in a cell that looked like it would house Hannibal Lecter. It was just crazy. That's going to be a whole nother part of this series, though, when I tell you about working on the wing, how I was able to actually make money working on the death row wing, hustling right there on that wing. But I'll tell you guys about that in another video. So anyways, in the next video, we're going to jump on to CM1. As I leave maximum management and I make my way down, they finally release me from maximum management onto CM1. And on each level of CM, you got 1, 2, and 3. CM1 is the highest, CM2 is the middle, and then CM3, you're about ready to go back to the compound. Well, each level is supposed to last 6 months, so long as you're not getting in any trouble, right? So for me, that would have been 18 months plus however long I stayed in maximum management, 20 something months, right? I stayed there for 30 months because they kept extending my time when I would go up for my review. So in the next video, I'm going to break a lot of that down for you. I'm going to tell you about as I entered into CM1. And I remember I came through the door and I'm on this deck, second floor deck, and there's the officer station right here. It's not a closed-in officer station. It's just this floor where they have a desk, a bunch of handcuffs. Well, they just got a desk and a bunch of handcuffs, and they can look down the entire wing of the first floor, second floor, and third floor. You can see all the way down both sides. Probably had 100 to maybe 200 people per wing, right? I'm going to break it down for you and tell you as soon as I came in the door what I seen. And I was just like, what? Blown away by what I seen compared to where I just left from maximum management. All right, everybody, so that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this video where I took you deep into the dark misery, pain, suffering, and even death of FSP. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done it. Hit the like button. Comment below. Let me know after this video series about the misery of solitary confinement, what else you would like to know about prison. With that, everybody keep your head up. Much respect to you. And remember this, no matter what the hell you might currently be going through, we all have a unique ability in life. That's to be able to bounce back from all the bullshit, turn your life around, build it into something great that other people will aspire to be or do like you've done. Keep your head up, man.